Imagine you are relaxing and at ease in your garden of life. At this garden, you have cultivated it and you have filled it with things that help you feel safe and secure, help you grow into who it is that you really want to be, who it is you are supposed to be, and things to help you absolutely thrive. But along comes an absolute whirlwind known as stress, and it rips through everything. It tears down the fence, it rips up the flowers that have been blooming, it pelts you and everything that you have filled your garden of life with, and just absolutely leaves everything a complete mess. A lot of us go through that, and what ends up being experienced is that whirlwind never stops. Goodness knows this past year and a half now, it has been one nonstop whirlwind of stress after whirlwind after whirlwind. And as that storm damage piles up, we feel more and more beaten down. Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, everything. Just absolutely beaten down. What is the message that mess in our garden of life is trying to tell us? Because it has a message for us. It is there for a reason. And that reason is not just because life happens. Life does happen. But there are things we can do. So, what is the message in that mess of storm damage, of stress? And what can you do when that storm of stress rolls through next time? Maybe a little damage control from the last time, too. If you're new to my world, welcome. I'm Dr. Vicky, channel chiropractor for people as well as pets. I'm a mind-body coach and a Reiki healer. I'm here to help you and your fur babies be the very best versions of you possible so that you can go out and live life to the fullest. Not just living, but thriving. Enjoying everything that you can possibly enjoy in life without feeling held back and without feeling like you have to hold back. Living life to the max. When those storms of stress come through, that can really set you back. Not just on all of the progress that you have made in that garden of life, all of the things that you have been tending, all of the things that you have been keeping a careful eye on, just absolutely knocked out. It can leave you feeling not just a little bit set back, but completely behind square one. What is the message in that mess? What is the why of that whirlwind? Because stress, at its core, is just a symptom. Stress can cause a whole lot of things. We have seen so many examples of how stress can cause mental, emotional, and even physical distress, dis-ease, actual major medical challenges have ties to high levels of stress, or highly stressful events, or a lot of highly stressful events, or a lot of minor stressful events that just keep piling up. Stress causes so many challenges, but stress itself is a symptom, and symptoms all have positive intent. They can absolutely suck, but they are there for a purpose, for a positive purpose, even if the feeling of it feels anything but positive. It can be there for positive intent. It is there to help you. How the heck can this whirlwind of stress possibly help you? There is a purpose to the pain. And that purpose is to bring to your awareness the fact that a boundary has been crossed. A boundary in your garden of life has been violated. And it's there to give you the energy to freaking do something about it. That's it. That's all that the stress is there for, as I'm hitting my microphone. If you're listening to the audio and not watching the video, I talk with my hands a lot. But the stress is there just to bring to your awareness that a boundary has been violated and to give you the energy to do something about it. And that energy, you can use it in one of 4 ways. Now, we all know about fight or flight. The top 2 most common, most well-known ways to use that stress energy is, number 1, to fight off whatever it is that's stressing you, or to flee from it, number 2. Now, number 1, fighting. That was really, really helpful and useful in prehistoric days, when one of the most stressful things we could have come across was Mama Bear crashing through our fence and coming into our garden of life. Okay, we could fight her off and stand our ground and defend our garden, defend our little plot of land, fight off whatever broke through that fence, and stand our ground. It doesn't quite work in a healthy and functional way in modern times. Sometimes it does, but not nearly as often as it did in prehistoric times. Number 2, fleeing, getting the heck out of Dodge. If Mama Bear came crashing through our fence in prehistoric times, we could decide, you know what? Maybe this isn't where I need to be building my garden. Maybe I need to take off and build my garden somewhere where there aren't so many bears. In modern times, if you've got a whirlwind of stress that keeps on coming and doesn't stop, maybe the message in that mess of storm damage is to tell you, maybe you would thrive living somewhere, building your garden somewhere where, there's not so many tornadoes or hurricanes. Just a thought. So, fleeing. And we've all heard the phrase, bloom where you're planted. And I'm going to tell you now, that's a bunch of BS. Somebody else's belief system. Somebody else said, make do with what you got, which can be helpful. It doesn't always mean it's going to help you thrive in a healthy and functional way. If you have an acorn, it is not going to ever grow into an oak tree if it stays sitting on your desk. It cannot bloom where it has been planted in your desk. It can only bloom if it is put in the right environment for it to grow and thrive. You can only grow and thrive if you are put in an environment where you are able to do that. So, bloom where you're planted doesn't always work. Sometimes you do need to leave and build your garden somewhere else. Number 3, the third way we can use that stress energy is the most common way that it gets used, which is to not use it at all, to freeze. Modern times, the most common way that most of us deal with stressful situations is we do nothing at all. We sit tight, we hunker down, we cover our heads and hope it goes away. Or if it doesn't, we go, well, this is just the way life is. It's always going to be this way, so why bother trying to find something different, because it's just going to be the same thing in a different place with the same whirlwind. Not the most healthy and functional, but definitely the most common. Now the challenge, the really big challenge with taking the route of option 3 of freezing when those stressful situations keep ripping through your garden is that stress. Like I said, it's there to give you the energy to do something. It is giving you energy. Stress is energy. Stress is an emotion, and emotions are energy. Emotion. Energy in motion. But now you're not in motion. What's happening to that energy? It is continually building up, continually compounding, building up the pressure. And eventually, that buildup of pressure has got to release somewhere. And if you keep suppressing and repressing that energy that is building up from all of that stress after stress after stress, eventually what you suppress will be expressed typically in your body. This is where you can end up with a whole host of physical challenges that are manifesting because you are not using the energy that the stress is giving you in a healthy and functional way. If you need assistance with that, maybe some of the stress that you've got going on is giving you migraines, maybe it's giving you back pain. I've seen it manifest in knees and hips as aches and pains and arthritis, as physical restriction because you feel like you cannot move forward in your life, in your garden, because a storm keeps ripping through it. You eventually are going to be expressing that with your body feeling like it cannot move and cannot thrive and cannot get to where it needs to go. If you're having a challenge with that, reach out to me. Let's see what we can do to help you move forward. Give me a call or send me a text message and let's chat on the phone. No cost. 636-751-3150 or visit my website at completewellnesscc.com and hit that consult tab at the top. Now, the fourth and final way that we can use that energy, that the stress of the whirlwind, that energy that the stress is trying to give us, the fourth way you can use that is to fix the boundary that the stress is telling you has been violated. If a storm rips through your fence, well, the stress of that storm is trying to give you the energy to fix the fence. A storm, at its core, all that rain, all that wind, we can use water and wind as energy. And that's exactly what we're supposed to be doing with it. In ourselves, in our lives, we are supposed to be using the energy of that storm of stress. And after the storm rips through, sometimes even during, sometimes you gotta make some storm repairs while the storm is going on, so you don't end up with everything washed away. We're supposed to use the energy from that rain and that wind to rebuild, to fix, and not just patch it up with more of the same. If you have rotting boards in your fence and a storm rips through some of those rotting boards, you can replace them with more rotting boards, just like the one next to it. But guess what? If you do that, that fence is going to have a breakdown that much faster. Because if those boards went up brand new years ago, decades ago, well, if you put up more rotting boards because they've rotted over time, well, it's not going to get you another several years or another several decades because it's already rotted. You can't just patch up your personal boundaries with more of what's not working. The fact that those boundaries got violated, that they got broken through by all of this stress, it's a sign that those boundaries need to be upgraded. They are no longer serving you as well as they should. And that's okay. One type of boundary you set up in your life is never meant to last you your whole life, because you should continually be leveling up your life from start to finish. If you are not moving forward, you are moving backward. Everything that is living is either growing or decaying. There is no middle ground. There is no stagnation, because stagnation is decaying. So you are supposed to constantly be upgrading and up-leveling your life, your garden. And with those upgrades and those up levels, you should be upgrading your boundaries, because eventually they're not going to be up to par anymore. And the stress that is going to run through, that whirlwind, is going to knock down some of those boundaries. That's just how life works. The stress is going to come. The whirlwind is going to come. That's part of life. You can move out of Tornado Alley, but wherever you go, there's going to be some other kind of natural disaster that's going to threaten the boundaries of your garden. There is not a place in the world that I'm aware of that does not have some sort of natural disaster. That's how life works. You can't escape stress completely. You can go somewhere where there's different stress, and maybe stress that's more healthy and functional for you. Because stress is not necessarily a bad thing. Stress is there to show you that you have an opportunity to upgrade part of your life and to give you the energy to do it. That's all. That's all that it's there for. So we don't want to just fix the fence that God knocked down. We don't want to just patch it up with more of what's not working. We don't want to replace the rotting board that broke with another rotting board. We need to upgrade our boundaries. When you feel like the whirlwinds of stress just keep ripping through and trampling and destroying and uprooting everything that you have established in your garden of life. Or maybe you never got it fully established in the first place. You keep trying and it just keeps not taking root because the storm keeps rolling through and ripping it all up before it ever takes. You need to upgrade your boundaries. What does that look like? That can look like upgrading the tools, the techniques, or the people that you bring into your garden. Upgrading your tools, well, that could look like maybe some different apps that you use or some different technology. I've got an app on my phone that I think was even built into it. I'm not techie, so it's not complicated if I'm using it. But it's the Do Not Disturb feature. I have that automatically set to where I don't have to think about it. I have it automatically set to where no calls or text messages or notifications or anything will come through between the hours of when I want to start winding down to rest and relax and the time in the morning after breakfast and after coffee when I'm a functional human again. I don't get notifications during that time because I am not at my best to handle anything that could come through, good, bad, or otherwise. If I look at my Facebook and somebody has asked me a question and it's between those hours, I'm probably not going to answer it from my best self. And that could cause a whole ripple down effect of other issues. I prefer not to talk to anyone during those periods of time. So that's just an example of a tool that you could put in place to establish healthier boundaries. Another way you could upgrade your boundaries is with the new techniques, upgraded techniques that you use in your life to cultivate your garden. That could look like setting up some new routines or new rules for yourself. It's just like upgrading a computer. When you upgrade your computer in the background, it's upgrading all of the routines and processes and techniques that your computer system uses to operate. You can do the same thing for yourself. Upgrading your techniques could look like a new routine where if someone comes to you with a tougher question, that you are going to give yourself 24 hours before you get back to them with an answer. And make them actually wait. Because a lot of things don't need an answer right then. A lot of things really don't need you to drop everything that you're doing. They can wait for a little bit. If somebody comes in while you're in the middle of doing something for work, and they're like, hey, can you do this for me? Be like, I will get to that at this time. Or I will get to that in 10 minutes when I'm done with this. Then come back to me and ask me again. Because right now, I got to work on this. That can wait 10 minutes. Or that can wait 24 hours. Now, caveat to that is if a question comes up that you need to address, whether it's a question that has actually been asked of you, asked to you, or if it's a decision that you need to make, a question that you have asked yourself. Do I need to do this? Do I need to do that? Do not give yourself more than 72 hours. You need to come up with an answer within 72 hours because the vast majority of our decisions, pretty much all of our decisions, are made with our emotions first, and then we use our logic to justify it. And we know in our hearts what it is that we really want. And if you say that you don't know what you really want, ask yourself, if I did know, what would I want? because at the heart you do. You have just been conditioned to tell yourself you don't. If you give yourself more than 72 hours to make a decision, one, the decision has already been made in your heart. You just need to get out of your own way to see it. And two, if you're sitting on that thing and letting it stew and letting it spiral around more than 72 hours, you are just compounding the stress. You are creating your own whirlwind and tearing up your own garden from the inside. So, some of the techniques that might need upgrading could be saying, hey, I'm going to give myself a little more time before I make this decision. Or it could look like, I'm not going to give myself more than 72 hours. And I'm going to make a decision within 72 hours. That's 3 days if you don't want to do the clock math. The third and final piece that might need upgrading in your garden of life when that whirlwind of stress comes tearing through could be the people that you have allowed into your garden or that you should allow into your garden. You know, who is it that is allowed inside that garden of life right now? And do they still need to be there? Are they helping you truly cultivate the life that you want to be living? Do they still need to be allowed in the garden? And if so, when do they need to be allowed in the garden? And for how long? Because sometimes people should be in our garden anytime they want to be because we love to have them there. They make our lives richer for it. Sometimes they don't need to be in our garden at all. They need to be removed. Their membership to the garden needs to be revoked. And sometimes it doesn't need to be so cut and dry, black and white, in or out. Sometimes there's some folks that we would love to have in our garden during these days, during these times, for this amount of time, and then we're complete until the next time it comes around. Maybe they're a once a week gardener. Maybe they're a once a month for an hour gardener. Who is allowed in your garden? And who might need some membership to be revoked or edited? And who do you need to extend an invitation to? Because you need someone like that in your garden to help you help it grow, to help you grow and thrive and be your very best. Who is it and what is it that is going to help you take your garden and your life to that next level? And Melissa's in the comments saying that I'm so good at putting off decisions. Yes. And it's continuing to build its own whirlwind. Trust me, I've been there. I do that. I'm constantly working on that myself. Because I don't give you advice that I don't also need myself or I haven't needed in the past. The only spiral that we are supposed to be experiencing is the one that takes us to that next level. And then the next level after that, and the next level higher after that. We should be experiencing whirlwinds of stress. That's part of life. It's gonna happen. But all it is it's there to show us that a boundary has been violated. A boundary has been broken. And it's there to give us the energy to do something about it. So let me know what it is, what boundary you could upgrade by the end of the month. What's one boundary that you could upgrade? Maybe it's not going to be perfect. Maybe we're replacing that rotting board with one that's a little newer, but not brand spanking new. Baby steps. Baby steps are fine. You don't have to run the marathon right off the bat. If you can, that's awesome. But take that next step. So I'd love to hear what one boundary is that you're going to upgrade by the end of the month. I look forward to hearing what you come up with. Until next time, take care and go out and enjoy your garden of life. Bye now.